8.3 Irrational square roots. When we say irrational, we just mean that we're taking the square root of a number that isn't a perfect square. So normally 4, 9, 36, these are perfect squares. 25, 81, these are all perfect squares. If you take a number and take the square root of it that is not a perfect square, you're going to have an irrational square root. If we look at example A, we have the square root of 324. If we don't know that off the top of our head, find the prime factorization of that number. The 324, we know that 2 goes into it evenly because it ends in an even number. So we can do 2 times 2 goes into 3 one time with 1 left over. 12 is 6 and 4 is 2. So 2 is 162. 2 goes into that also 81 times. And 81 is 9 and 9. The 9 is 3 and 3. So this is going to be also the square root of 2 times 2 times 3 times 3 times 3 times 3. We're dealing with groups of 2. So we pull a 2 out, we pull a 3 out, and another 3. So 2 times 3 is 6. 6 times 3 is 18. So this one is a rational square root. If we look at an example like B with the square root of 25, with the square root of 75, this is an irrational square root because 75 is 3 times 25, and the 25 is 5 times 5. So if we rewrite this, it's the square root of 3 times 5 times 5. We're grouping up sets of 2. The 5 has a set of 2, however, the 3 does not. So the 3 has to stay underneath the radical. So it's just going to be 5 square root 3. For C, we have 2 times the square root of 112. Well, the square root of 112, we know 2 goes into it 56 times. 56 is 2 and 28. 28 is 2 and 14. The 14 is 2 and 7. So again, this is the square root of 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 times 7. We're grouping up sets of 2, so this is a set of 2, and this is a set of 2, and that 7 is left over. However, we have to remember to take this 2 on the outside and bring it down as well and multiply whatever we have by that, because it's literally 2 times the square root of 112. The square root of 112 is 2 times 2 times the square root of 7. So 2 times 2 times 2 times the square root of 7 is what we're going to do. 2 times 2 is 4, times 2 is 8, so it's 8 square root 7. If we look at example D, we have the square root of 891. So 891 is 3 times 297. The 297 is 3 times 99. The 99 is 3 times 33. The 33 is 3 times 11. 11 is a prime number, so we're going to rewrite this as the square root of 3 times 3 times 3 times 3 times 11. Grouping up sets of 2, 2 3s, pull 1 out. Another set of 2 3s, pull another out. The 11 is left over, so it stays underneath the radical. So 3 times 3 is 9. Keep the square root of 11. 9 square root of 11 is our answer. If we look at example 2a, we have the square root of 684. 684 is 4 times 171. The 4 is 2 times 2. The 171 is 3 and 57. The 57 is also 3 and 19. So we're going to rewrite this as 2 times 2 times 3 times 3 times 19. So the 2 2's pair up, the 2 3's pair up, and then that square root of 19 is staying. So 2 times 3 is 6, square root 19. For B, we have the square root of 0.8. So again, this 8 is in the 10th place, so this is the same exact thing as the square root of 8 over 10. Well, 8 over 10 is the same thing as the square root of 4 over 5. Now, when we do this, this is also the square root of 4 over the square root of 5. The square root of 4 is 2. However, the square root of 5 you cannot do. You cannot leave a radical in the denominator. So when we simplify this, we are going to have to multiply the top and the bottom by that radical, which is the square root of 5, to get rid of the radical on the bottom. If we multiply this, this is 2 square root 5 over the square root of 25. Well, the square root of 25 is 5. So this is really 2 square root 5 over 5. For C, we have the square root of 1200. This is 12 times 100. The 100 is 10 times 10. The 12 is 2 and 6. The 6 is 2 and 3. So this, even if you wanted to factor out the tens, you can, but you don't have to, because there's 2 of the same factor. So this is also the square root of 2 times 2 times 3 times 10 times 10. The 2 times 2, 1 comes out. The 3 stays under. The 2 tens, 1 of those comes out. So this is 2 times 10 times the square root of 3, which is 20 square root 3. For D, we have the square root of 98. So this is going to be 2 times 49. The 49 is 7 times 7. We have a group of 7s, so we're going to pull 1 out. The 2 stays underneath. For these fractions, if we can simplify these fractions, we are going to do so. If not, we're going to just take the square roots of them. So with A, with the square root of 36 over the square root of 75, the square root of 36 is 6 times 6. The 75 is 3 times 25, which is 5 times 5. So this can be rewritten as 6 over 5 square root 3. The square root of 3 we cannot leave in the denominator, so we're going to multiply the square root of 3 by the top and the bottom. So this is going to give us 6 square root 3 all over 5 times the square root of 3 times 3, which is the square root of 9, which is also just 3. So 6 square root 3 over 5 times 3, which is 15. The 5 times 3, though, also, the 3 can simplify with the 6 to become 2 and 1. So it's just 2 square root 3 over 5. For B, we have the square root of 5 over the square root of 8. 5 is prime, 8 is not. 8 is 4 and 2. The 4 is 2 and 2. Groups of 2. So the square root of 5 over 2 square root 2. Again, you cannot leave the square root of 2 in the denominator. So multiply square root of 2 by top and bottom. We're going to get the square root of 10 over 2 times the square root of 4, which is 2 times 2. So this is the square root of 10 over 4. And again, this was actually 2 times 2, because the square root of 4 is 2. So the square root of 10 over 4. For C, we have the square root of 16 over the square root of 26. The square root of 16 is 4. The square root of 26, however, is 2 and 13, so you cannot simplify the square root of 26. So we're going to multiply the top and the bottom by the square root of 26. Oops. So this is going to be 4 square root 26 all over the square root of 26 times 26. The two 26's pair up, so this is 4 square root 26 all over 26. Now that 4 and that 26 are have a like term, which is 2. So the 4 is going to turn into a 2. The 26 turns into a 13. So this is 2 square root 26 all over 13. For D, we have the square root of 6 over 12. So square root of 6 over square root of 12. We simplify that 12 by 2 and 6, which is 2 and 3. So square root 6 over 2 square root 3. We're going to multiply the top and bottom by the square root of 3 to get rid of that radical in the bottom. And we're going to have the square root of 18 over 2 times 3. Now the square root of 18 is 2 times 9. The 9 is 3 times 3. So the 3's pair up. This is going to be 3 square root 2 all over 6. The 3 and the 6 become a 1 and a 2. So this is just the square root of 2 over 2.